Hey Sprouts, and welcome back to video 2 on how to make your own fermented hot sauce. In this video, we're actually going to put together a basic ferment so that you can learn how to do it yourself at home. Now, to get started, make sure that you have a mason jar and your top or the other gallon container. Make sure you have a clean weight. And then for produce, whatever you decide to use, whatever flavor combination, you need to make sure that's roughly chopped, obviously clean, and make sure that there's no seeds. Seeds can float up to the top of the brine and actually mold. So you want to get as many seeds as you possibly can out. You're going to need your sea salt. You're going to need your spring water. And I also recommend having a spatula. Make sure that it's not metal, because if it's metal, it can actually cause bad bacteria to occur in the ferment or actually ruin the good bacteria. So I just use a little silicone little spatula, and then I also have a little container to mix my spring water with my salt to dissolve it. Now, to start, you want to get your jar, make sure it's been sterilized and it's clean. You want to turn your scale on first. And make sure it's set to grams. You're going to put your jar on top and you're going to tar out the weight. It should be 0. So once it's at 0, you're going to go ahead and take your clean produce, whatever you want to use. A really good combination would be like habanero, carrots, onions, garlic. Make sure it's chopped up, washed obviously, have the seeds removed, and then you're going to go ahead and put it in there. For this purpose, I'm not going to fill it all the way up just because I'm not actually doing a full ferment. I'm just trying to show you guys how to do it. Normally, I would fill at least halfway, if not up to the top right here. Okay, so then once that's in there, you're going to add the spring water. And you're just going to go ahead and pour it in all the way up to this bottom rim right here. You want to leave a little bit of room, but you want to go ahead and get it right to the bottom of the rim of the jar. Just leave a little bit of space. Now, you have the weight. As you can see here, it says 764 grams. So once you have that weight, you want to go ahead and create your brine. Now, the brine is supposed to be between 3% and 5%. So say we did a 4% brine of 764, we would need to add 30.5 grams of canning salt. So what I like to do is take this off and then go ahead and put on a container right here, and then you're going to tar it out again. And make sure you use water from this jar to make sure that it's the same weight, because you don't want to be adding water to it because it would make it less consistent. For this, I'm just going to be pouring it out of this real quick because I don't want to spill. And so that would technically be water from the jar. And then I would go ahead and tar it out again, make sure it's 0. And then I would pour in, 30.5 grams of sodium. Let's see here. Ooh, make sure you do that carefully because obviously I did too much. Let's take off like that much. Let's see. Do it slower. Just trying to show you guys. Obviously, not perfect. I would have done it a lot slower. Add teaspoons at a time. And once you get there, you just slowly stir it together. You want to make sure that it dissolves. They don't recommend heating up the water because it actually would kill all the good bacteria. So you want to make sure that you're just using room temperature water, and then you're just slowly stirring it around, and as you can see, it's dissolved. Now, it's also important that you use a rubber spatula. Don't use metal because that introduces bad type of bacteria into the ferment. It also can kill the good bacteria. So make sure you use a rubber spatula. And from there, you just go up here and you would pour that back in into your brine with your water. And now that your brine is now in your jar, the next step is to get your weight. Right here I have the glass weight, and you're going to take all of that produce. Remember, it would normally be all the way up to the top, so you wouldn't have to really push that far down, but I don't have a bunch of produce, so it's just going to sink. Okay, and that just makes sure that there's no floaters and all of the actual produce is all the way under the brine. This normally wouldn't be there. If it is, you would just tuck it back under. Now that is all set, and you get your lid, you put the lid on. I'm gonna get this out of the way. There. And then this seal, you need to go ahead and grab your tool, and then this removes the air from the canister, and then from there you're good. That's all it is. And once you're done, you store it in a cool, dark place. Ferments, you know, they want to last, you know, anywhere between 1 to 3 months, depending on how tangy you like it. And I store mine under the cabinet. It's actually by itself. It's completely dark. And I'll pull it out, you know, probably at least once a week, just to look at it. You can actually grab it and it'll be bubbling in the beginning. That means it's an active ferment, which is actually very good. It's eating all of that lactobacteria. Sometimes you'll see this like filmy white yeast on the bottom or on the side sometimes. That's actually perfectly normal. It's called calm yeast. That's actually dead bacteria. So that's a good sign that you have an active ferment. Obviously look out for any type of mold, anything that shouldn't be there. Sometimes there's a seed that can be floating to the top that will get mold on it. Unfortunately, that happens. It's no longer viable. You'd have to dump it and start over. But in this case, it's sealed. So it's not likely that that would happen because it's sealed, it's closed. Even if a seed got up to the top, it's unlikely that it would mold. That's why I like these particular lids. So these canisters are 2 different ferments I did at different times. The one on the right has the sriracha based ferment. This one I started in September, like the very last day of September. And this one I started, as you can see here, November 4th. I personally am, you know, experimenting with the different types of sauces. This is my first time doing it, so we'll have to see how it comes out in the next video. But highly recommend, you know, you just kind of check it every now and then and kind of forget about it. And when you remember, you just go pick it up and you look at it and you're like, okay, I can process it. And once you process it, you know, you can taste the brine. It's not recommended you open this at all during the process just because it introduces bacteria into it, and the whole process is it's supposed to be sealed. I ended up opening up the big one once because I needed to put more weight into it because I had some floaters, and I actually put in just like a half of a bell pepper right there and shoved it down. I also used like a bag with some water in it because I didn't have the weights yet. But that's how you start a ferment, and you let it sit for a month or 2 or 3, and that's it. Simple, easy, and hopefully it tastes good. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will be back with you guys for the 3rd and final video. Thank you.